As the Islanders prepare for their season finale, we'll discuss the big impact Patrick Waugh has had on this team. We've got that and a lot more on today's Locked On Islanders podcast.
Your Locked On Islanders, your daily podcast on the New York Islanders. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome, everybody, to the Wednesday edition of the Locked On Islanders podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I want to thank everyone who makes Locked On Islanders your first listen every day. Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts so you can get new episodes as soon as they drop. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. We have got a busy show today, lots to discuss, including a recent transaction. But first, if there's something Islanders related on your mind, if you have a question, a comment, maybe a topic you'd like us to discuss on a future episode, you can email us at lockedonislanders@gmail.com. And if you leave your first name and where you're from, we're happy to mention you on the show when we discuss whatever's on your mind. You can also follow the show on X at Locked On Isles, and you could follow me, Gil Martin, on X at Ice Wars, NYR VSNYI. We'll keep you up to date on all things Islanders throughout the season and, of course, the playoffs. And it's great to talk Islanders hockey with you, game time or anytime. So I did want to start today off with a little bit of transactional news. And it's not like it's a major immediate impact kind of a transaction, but the New York Islanders did indeed make a move. They end up signing Long Island native Marshall Warren to a 2-year entry-level contract that will kick in starting in 2024-2025. And it's a 2-year, two-way contract. So Warren expected to begin at least next season in Bridgeport. Now, he played 4 years for Boston College before joining the University of Michigan. This past year helped them reach the Frozen Four. He is 22 years old, will turn 23 later this week. Only 5'11", 163 pounds. Maybe that's why he isn't considered an A-list prospect. Originally drafted by the Wild in the 6th round back in 2019. 41 games for Michigan this last year, 4 goals, 18 points, and 30 penalty minutes. So his top production in points in college, 21 points in 37 games with BC in 2021-2022. That was 6 goals and 15 assists that year. So again, not expected to necessarily have a big impact on the Islanders, and he certainly will not figure into the plans this year. But you got to know that looking ahead, he will likely be part of the organization and probably start the season off at Bridgeport to give them a little organizational depth. And maybe, just maybe, he will, be able to have some kind of an impact down the line. Wanted to start today now talking a little bit about Patrick Waugh. And I think if you look at it, the coaching change from Lane Lambert to Patrick Waugh is definitely one of the reasons that the Islanders were able to qualify for the playoffs. And I didn't come into this idea to disparage Lane Lambert. I like Lane Lambert. I still think he could be a good coach in the NHL. Certainly, he's already established himself as a good assistant. But as a head coach with the right team, under the right circumstances, I think he can succeed. But the change to Patrick Waugh definitely made a difference for this Islanders team. They are 19, 12, and 5 under Patrick Roy, which is basically 7 games over NHL 500. It's a points percentage of .597. And the strong finish, here's some of the things I think that Patrick Roy did that helped create that strong finish. And one of them, I think, is major. I think there is a certain respect factor. I think the fact that Lane Lambert was the assistant coach for the Islanders under Barry Trotz could have compromised his authority as the head guy. But more important, when you're looking at Patrick Roy, and it's something everydayers know we've discussed on the show many times. I think Roy had an instant respect for who he was as a player, number one. But number two, he created, in difficult circumstances, more accountability for a team that hasn't had enough accountability in recent years. And again, not to say this is a knock against Barry Trotz or Lane Lambert, but we know the Islanders farm system is currently regarded as dead last in the NHL by most experts, or very close to dead last. It's not like the Islanders can say to players, hey, if you don't play well, we've got 3 guys down in Bridgeport who are ready and hungry and who are NHL ready players. No, we don't have that necessarily. So what did Roy do, I think, that helped create more accountability? Number one, he wasn't afraid to bench guys. I think he was more willing to do that. And I think that was a smaller part of it. But to me, the bigger part of it was that he wasn't afraid to mix up the lines. And what that did, while it may indeed take away a little chemistry, it told players, hey, you know what? You don't play well. You may not get the minutes you want or be with the players that you think you can excel with offensively the best. I'm willing to move Casey Cizikas up to the first line. I'm willing to sit Simon Holmstrom for a few games. I'm willing to move players. I'm willing to create a line with Bo, Barzy, and Brock. And then I'm willing to break that line up. I think that within the team itself, Patrick Roy created accountability by mixing his lines and benching some players, and I think that helped. I think his system also helped, especially defensively. And no, the Islanders are not ideal or they are not excelling necessarily at cutting down on opposing teams' shots and preventing high danger chances, but they're better than they were. They are not giving as much time and space as they did to other teams on a more consistent basis. They're getting better at clearing the zone. They're not where they need to be. But again, the Islanders are one of those teams. And again, this is something we've discussed on the show before in different ways. Everydayers are aware of this. They're a team that if they play the way they are capable of playing, they can beat any other NHL team on any given night. And if they play poorly and don't play to their potential, they can lose easily to any other team. And I think Patrick Roy, with his system change, got them closer on a more consistent basis to that potential. And that's why we saw a pair late in the season of 6-game winning streaks. And that's why we saw a reduced number of shots on goals allowed in many instances. Again, there's still a lot of work to be done. This team is still a work in progress. They are not an elite cup contender yet, but they're playing better. They're playing a little smarter, and they are a little bit less comfortable under Patrick Roy. And I think that's made a big difference for this team. All right, we have got more to get to on today's show. We will preview the season finale against Pittsburgh, including talking a little bit about what, if any, room this team has to make moves and bring up players, and if they choose to rest some guys, which we will discuss. Plus, we'll have our weekly farm report. And oh, yeah, for our Islanders' birthday of the day, a veteran defenseman who ended his career with the Islanders in the 2000-2001 season. Let's see if you can guess who that is. We've got all that and a lot more coming up on today's Locked On Islanders podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Game Time is now an authorized ticket marketplace of Major League Baseball, which makes getting tickets even easier and faster. Prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer it gets to first pitch, and they've got killer last-minute deals, all in prices. My favorite, the view from your seat, and their lowest price guarantee. So Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying baseball tickets. They even have flash deals, which are exclusive in-app deals on select seats ahead of the game or the event, which takes the guesswork out of buying tickets. You can do that only with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. It's Locked On's NFL Mock Draft Live on April 17th at 7 o'clock Eastern Time, streaming on Locked On Sports Today, the 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube, or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app. Find the ultimate 6-episode series on April 17th at 7 o'clock Eastern Time to hear who the local Locked On experts are picking for every NFL franchise, with live reactions from local college football experts and even the fantasy football angle. The Locked On NFL mock draft on April 17th, 7 o'clock Eastern Time, p.m. It's streaming live on Locked On Sports Today, 24/7 streaming channel, or YouTube on the free Amazon Fire TV channels app. Islanders will close out the season against the Pittsburgh Penguins. And you know what? This game means absolutely nothing to the New York Islanders. When I say nothing, win it, they will still start the playoffs in Carolina against the Hurricanes and finish third in the Metropolitan. Lose in overtime, lose the game in regulation, same thing. The Penguins, who are their opponents, they need the win to have any chance of making the playoffs. Patrick Waugh, by the way, said, "I'll talk to my boss and we'll discuss what our plan is," when he was asked whether or not some players will sit. Obviously, you don't want anybody getting hurt. Noah Dobson almost certainly will not play in this game. You don't want to see Bo or Barzy or Kyle Palmieri or either of the goalies get hurt. That is not what you want to see. So other teams have done it. We have seen some other teams already rest, including the Hurricanes, rest some of their guys. So do you want to get Oliver Wahlstrom and Samuel Bolduc and, maybe Simon Holmstrom back into the lineup so they're a little sharper if needed in the playoffs? As far as, you could sit players and it could hurt you based on the fact that you don't have a lot of downtime between now and the playoffs. So, you want to keep guys sharp and work on some of the problems like the power play and the penalty kill. You do want to do that. But at the same time, getting guys hurt in a meaningless game would certainly not work. As of right now, the Islanders have enough cap space to recall 2 players from Bridgeport. So if you add Oliver Wahlstrom, Simon Holmstrom, and Samuel Bolduc to the 2 players, you could sit up to 5 guys if you choose. And that would include Noah Dobson, who I think is just not going to be risked under the circumstances. Be interesting to see what the Islanders do. Check us out on X. We'll update you on any transactions the Islanders may make. Facing the Penguins, well, not going to be easy. Like I said, Pittsburgh is desperate. They want to get into the playoffs. They need a win, and then both Detroit and Washington cannot win. They can lose in overtime or lose outright, but that's what it'll take for the Penguins. They're fresh off a 4-2 win over the Nashville Predators, and for the last 5 games, it's been win, loss, win, loss, win. So again, the Penguins, after getting hot to get back into the playoff hunt, kind of inconsistent again. Goals for, they are 16th in the league. Goals against, they are 12th. So the Penguins, right, a little above average to average in both. The power play, surprisingly, with all the talent they have, 31st in the league, only a 14.6% success rate. They're 9th on the PK. Again, the goalies, familiar names, Tristan Jarry and Alex Nedeljkovic. Nedeljkovic has been, that's the guy they rode during their recent success, but he's a little gassed, and it'll be interesting to see who they go with tonight. Obviously, Sidney Crosby, 42 goals, 92 points in 81 games. Evgeny Malkin next, 26 goals, 65 points. Brian Rust, he is still third on the team in scoring with 56 points, but he's only played 61 games, and he's second on the team with 28 goals. You look at the line combinations for the Penguins. Sidney Crosby, Drew O'Connor, and Brian Rust are the top trio. Evgeny Malkin, Michael Bunting, and Richard Rakell are the second trio. Bunting, by the way, a great pickup for the Penguins at the deadline. Lars Eller centers Riley Smith and Valerie Pustitin. And then you have Jeff Carter, Jansen Harkins, and Emil Bemstrom on the fourth line. Pierre-Olivier Joseph and Chris Letang on the top pair. Erik Karlsson, Marcus Pettersson on the second pair. And then Jack St. Ivani and Ryan Shea are the third pair. Again, the goalies, Nedeljkovic and Jarry. Matt Nieto, Noel Asiari, they're on IR. John Ludwig and Ryan Graves listed as day-to-day. We'll see if either of them are back for the season finale. To me, for the Islanders, you want to win this game, but you don't have to win this game. Just don't get embarrassed and don't get anybody hurt. That's the key. I'm reasonably sure Ilya Sorokin will be the goalie tonight for the Islanders. I think that makes more sense under the circumstances, mainly because you want to keep both goalies sharp heading into the playoffs, and Varley has obviously played a little bit more, so we'll see, again, which goalie each team plays, but it's expected to be Sorokin and Nedeljkovic as of now. And for the Islanders, just work on your power play, work on your PK. Just it's about working on things and staying healthy, in my mind, more than anything. And hopefully, the Islanders are able to close out the regular season on a high note. And look, let's face it, from an Islanders perspective, keeping the Penguins out of the playoffs, that would be, kind of sweet, considering everything Sidney Crosby has done to the Islanders over the years. All right, we have got more to get to on today's show. We'll have our weekly farm report on all things Bridgeport Islanders, plus our Islanders birthday of the day, all that and more coming up on today's Locked On Islanders podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by Monopoly Go. Guys, I need you all to listen up for this huge announcement. I've been tracking the leaderboards every day, keeping my eye on the scores, putting all my heart into it, and I'm super pumped to announce I am finally on top. That's right. Obviously, I'm talking about the hit mobile game, Monopoly Go. You've probably heard of it. It's been downloaded over 150 million times. It's a great mobile twist on classic Monopoly that you could play anywhere, anytime. You could explore hundreds of Monopoly boards from Las Vegas to Camelot to the moon, all while raking in a fortune. You can charge rent on iconic properties. Just like classic Monopoly, you can charge your friends rent on your iconic properties or go after their Monopoly money by pulling bank heists and taking wrecking balls to their landmarks. But my favorite part is the leaderboard where you could see who's a Monopoly tycoon and who's gone bankrupt. So go get yourself on the charts. Download Monopoly Go free now on the App Store and in Google Play. That's Monopoly Go. Check it out today. Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. And now it's also available on Amazon Fire TV and the free Fire TV channels app. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with the local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows covering every league. Find Locked On Sports Today, now available on the free Fire TV channels app. Time for a weekly farm report, and this will be the before last one of the year, as there's only 2 games left on Bridgeport's schedule. Last week, 2 games played and did not exactly go well. Back on April 12th, the Wilkes-Barre Scranton Penguins downing the Islanders by a score of 5-2. Brian Pinot and Ruslan Ishkakov getting the goals. Jakub Skarek, 15 saves in a losing effort. And, they swept the season series from Bridgeport 4-0. Then on April 13th, Saturday, the Islanders fell to the Lehigh Valley Phantoms. Final score 5-4. That game in overtime. 2 goals each for Pinho and Carlson Kuhlman. Kuhlman also had an assist, but it wasn't quite enough. Both goals by Kuhlman on the power play. And Pinho's first goal actually coming on a penalty shot that tied it in the final 35 seconds of regulation. Skarek, again, the goalie, he made 35 saves in this one. And, that was the final road game of the season for Bridgeport. Now, you look at the leaderboard for this team. Ishkakov, 18 goals, 50 points right now. The only question is, with 2 games left on the schedule, can he get to the big 2-0 and give the Islanders a 20-goal scorer? Brian Pinot, 33 points. Otto Koivula, 30. Dennis Chalowski with 29. He leads all defensemen, 7 goals, 22 assists. Matthew Maggio with 16 goals, 27 points in 60 games. William Dufour, 15 goals, 25 points in 54 games. As far as the goalies are concerned, Skarek, a 3.23 goals against average, a 7.22-6 record, and an 8.88 save percentage. The Islanders, 24-37, 7-2. That's 57 points in 70 games. They will finish 8th in the Atlantic Division. They have 2 games left on their schedule. And as for those 2 games, they're both at home. It's Fan Appreciation Weekend, Friday night, 7 o'clock Eastern Time against the Lehigh Valley Phantoms. And then Saturday, 7 o'clock Eastern Time against the Providence Bruins. If you want to see some of these players like Ruslan Ishkakov, Matt Maggio, William Dufour, you want to see them before they reach the island, head on up to Bridgeport, or you could watch these games on AHL TV. So, it's been a rough season for Bridgeport, not winning a whole lot of games, but hopefully they will be able to finish on a high note, and that some of the new talent being brought in will upgrade this team in the future. Meanwhile, time for our Islanders birthday of the day. And, we are a day late on this, but Tuesday was the 61st birthday of former Islanders defenseman Gary Galley. Galley a native of Montreal, fifth-round pick of the LA Kings back in 1983. Spent 3 years at Bowling Green University before joining the Kings for the 84-85 season. Later played for the Capitals, the Bruins, the Flyers, the Sabres, the Kings again, and then finished his career in 2000-2001, playing 56 games for the Islanders, scoring 6 goals, 20 points, 59 penalty minutes. He had 1,149 career NHL games, put home 125 goals, 599 points, and 1,218 penalty minutes. One of his better games as an Islander, how about December 29th, 2000 at the Nassau Coliseum? The Atlanta Thrashers are the visiting team with Milan Hlinka in goal. Meanwhile, Wade Flaherty, the goalie for the Islanders. And Gary Galley gets the scoring started for the Islanders. He scores his 4th of the year, just a minute and a half into the game. Dave Scatchard and Mark Lawrence with the helpers on that. And then on the power play in the second period, Galley and Mark Parrish assist on a power play goal by Mariusz Cherkovsky. The Islanders had a 5-0 lead at that point. They hold on to win by a score of 5-2. And for our Islanders' birthday of the day, Gary Galley, he has a goal, an assist. He is a +1. He had 3 shots, and he played 16 minutes and 8 seconds. Wade Flaherty making 25 saves to earn the win. Islanders beating the Thrashers 5-2. Gary Galley, a solid two-way defenseman who closed his career with the Islanders. He is our Islanders' birthday of the day. Can't believe we have already reached the end of this NHL season. Been great to be able to take this ride with you, but we'll be here throughout the playoffs and the offseason, bringing you all the latest Islanders news, notes, and happenings. I want to thank everyone who makes Locked On Islanders your first listen every day. Tomorrow on the show, we will have our key takeaways from the season finale. Plus, we'll start to look ahead to the playoff series against the Carolina Hurricanes. And don't forget, we will also have a crossover episode on Friday. So look for that with the new host of Locked On Hurricanes. Until then, have a great day, everybody. Stay safe. And of course, let's go Islanders.